Don't Fall in Love Too Quickly is my rock and roll saga, following the fortunes of fictional band Avon from their emergence in the new wave of the 1970s to success and beyond. A musical soap from punk to present. In this adapted extract from Band on a Mission, it is April 1985, and Avon have been charged by Bob Geldof with reforming the Beatles for a charity single in the run-up to Live Aid. Impossible? Incredible? Well, they've done it, though all is not well with the reunion session. Beatle fans, see how many misplaced factuals you can spot. Avon's office in Islington is near the rail terminal at King's Cross, and in a compound conveniently located between platforms 9 and 10, guitarist Steve Roberts purchased a hire car to drive down to Sussex. I got a nasty feeling I'm in a screwball movie, singer Abby Horowitz nervously sat in the gridlocked London streets as they edged slowly south. Good job you're here to navigate. You've been to his farm. Steve realised to reach the McCartney abode he must trust the lapsed American's non-existent sense of direction. Des did that, she recalled their gay PA's contribution. You should have brought him. You're prettier, he grinned. Oh please, she downsized. I thought this was a ruse to get to my apartment, you know? What a good idea, Roberts just laughed, and the atmosphere cleared. They were back to having fun, just being together. I think Bob really wanted Dave to do this, Abby lolled in her sunglasses. We're on the spot, he's not, Steve insisted. He and Wilson had been together since school, and no way was he being eclipsed by the bloke who, knighthood and all, he'd always considered his junior partner. You know, this is what we in the States call mission creep, Abby thought aloud. You start off doing one thing, in our case actually getting them to record, and end up having to do something else, standing over them while they do it. Have you actually thought what we'll do when we get there? Embarrass our musical parents into behaving, I guess, Steve philosophised. Hell, if you and I can resolve our differences and love again, so can they. We haven't resolved anything, she deadpanned. I knew there was a problem with the theory. And I wasn't aware one of the Beatles cheated on the other, getting her to move to England while he was still seeing someone else. That is so ancient history, Steve felt exasperated. What am I? Still on trial for 1977? Of course, I'm a woman. Okay, Roberts inhaled deeply. This is in-car syndrome. It's where everyone has their domestics, where you can't get away. We can't be having a domestic, we're not together. Figure of speech. He saw a gap in the traffic and accelerated into it, much like his attempt to rekindle their romance, really. Why don't you just admit I'm right and save the hassle? After 8 years, Abby felt she'd finally made her point. Okay, I was wrong to lead you on when I was still seeing Debbie. He pulled up at Balham traffic lights. Gateway to the south, as Peter Sellers once said. There, that wasn't so difficult, was it? Horowitz crowed total victory. Next I'd like it in writing, in public, on a Sunday newspaper confessional. I am so gonna get you when we get out of here, Roberts grinned in mock anger. Because, finally, after 8 long years, they were communicating toward an agreed outcome. It was late afternoon when Abby finally recalled the location of Paulditz, as the locals called the McCartneys' Sussex home. Remembering her navigation while on tour, in a van in the early days, Steve considered 60 minutes of aimless driving around not bad going. Ominously they were admitted, like they'd been expected. Band-Aid takes an interest, he found himself lying to Linda McCartney, a woman known to see through falsehood like Supergirl sees through walls. We'll just say hi and be on our way. I got some pictures. Mrs. McCartney was as serene as ever. They're still loosening up. Subtext. It's not going to plan. Hey, you should see us in a grouch, Abby empathised, until a look from Steve silenced. I think they're having tea. Linda declined to get involved. Would you like some? Paul's brick and glass studio was partially sunk into farmland. To Steve's mind it recalled a fallout shelter. Appropriate simile? As they approached he saw George and Ringo taking the air by the door, smoking. Cigarettes, apparently, unlike the alleged incident in the loos of Buckingham Palace. Band-Aid sent us to see if there's anything we could do to help, Abby deployed the innocent smile that had always got around Dad. John wanted to keep it secret in case it didn't turn out very good. Ringo obliquely endorsed the wisdom of Lennon's caution. April Fool. George more openly stubbed out his cigarette. Remember the Rattles? Having drawn the long straw to recruit Harrison, Steve knew he appeared in Monty Python Eric Idle's Fab Four spoof. Let it rot, he quoted. Showed the Rattles as never before, tired, unhappy, cross, and just like the rest of the world. Had he gone too far? No. Smiles, both George and Ringo relaxed at such healthy irreverence. Why don't you come and play for a bit? Harrison recalled his initiative during the infamous Get Back sessions, where he co-opted a passing Billy Preston to inject best behaviour enthusiasm into a band past its sell-by date. Oh, can we? Abby squeaked the chance of a lifetime. God, how envious was Dave going to be now? Suits me. Steve was much less overawed as they went inside to where the immovable object, Lennon, was actively debating the instrumentation of Real Love with the irresistible force, McCartney. Using the same bass as on Heartbreak Hotel was, for John, invoking a ghost too far. Your twins aren't due for months yet. Back near Salisbury, Avon drummer Colleen Maguire felt driven to distraction by Sir Dave's incessant pacing. Oui, you must learn to trust others, n'est-ce pas? Wife Nicole looked up from her magazine. You cannot be everywhere. You know how irreverent Steve is. The more he pondered, the more Dave worried. In this situation, a good quality, perhaps? His spouse angrily flicked a page. Yeah, they'll sort it, Colleen reassured. Huh! The emotionally torn Wilson ceased pacing and anxiously stared out of the window toward distant Sussex. They found and recruited me okay, Maguire thought him unjust. This is the Beatles we're talking about, Dave shot back. Abby shoots her mouth off. She has all the tact and diplomacy for which the North American continent is famed, i.e. you see a problem and you bomb it. As for Steve, he'll seize any opportunity to show off. I remember once at school he... David! Nicole finally snapped. If you talk like that about your friends, it is indeed fortunate you are not there. Amen to that, Col too had heard enough. Give it a rest, Dave. It's only a band making a bloody record. It's not removing a fascist dictator from office. D'accord, Nicole confirmed Maguire's irony over her husband's real achievement, a few months ago with Monty and Prince George saving the UK for constitutional monarchy from the clutches of Mrs. Plummer's second Commonwealth. Let us keep these things in perspective. Currently hormonally gaga by pregnancy, Lady Wilson much preferred his inflexible dark side confined to their bedroom. If the situation was tense, it didn't seem terminal. Steve and Abby were sat in a corner facing Ringo, John and George to their right, Paul to their left. Nobody much talking, just jamming oldies like Ain't She Sweet and Raunchy. Then came more tea and sympathy, cigarettes and alcohol. You guys grew up playing 50s rock and roll, the nervous Steve waxed garrulous. We're a couple of ways behind. We grew up playing your stuff, you and your peers. What Steve means, Abby elaborated, is you people mean something to us, to millions like us. You are our cultural leaders. We owe you nothing, Lennon tetchily responded. We're not your parents. If we don't want to lead, John, we can at least follow. Paul felt he'd already bent too far backward, trying not to alienate anybody. That's why we're here. People of our generation can support these younger ones. Back up Geldof and all he's doing. Endorse it. Don't let them down. George was as laconic as ever. Haven't we done our bit? Lennon queried the whole premise. What he really found uncomfortable today was the guilt the world was laying on him about December 8th, 1980, when Avon's original drummer Mike Richards had taken a bullet meant for him. Didn't the Beatles give all on God's earth for 10 years? Oh, absolutely. No criticism intended, Abby trod eggshells. George and I did the Bangladesh show, Ringo reminded. Paul did Kampuchea. It makes a difference. It saves lives. That's why we're here. Earn for charity. When you see beyond yourself, George waxed. The time will come when you see we're all one, Steve impulsively completed the lyric. Now you're taking it too seriously as well, Paul admonished to a rattle of teacups. What do you kids do to warm up? Ringo attempted to save the day. When we're having trouble getting going, we bring in an outside opinion to give perspective. If Steve was teaching his godfathers to suck eggs, he knew someone in this room had made a panic call to Geldof. We take a step back, Abby implied. It draws us together against the teacher. You're very presumptuous, young lady. John deflected oblique criticism with a stare over his spectacles and a mock posh accent. Are you suggesting we need an outside producer? Paul extended the challenge. If only George Martin were here like the old days, not stuck on Montserrat, sitting out a tropical storm. We all work better with arbitration, Steve suggested. Don't we? Then bring on the peacekeepers. Harrison wryly warmed to the idea as a way forward. If we can't get Mr. Martin back, let's have Jeff Lynne. He's a mate of mine, technically good too. Suits me, Ringo offered the usual drummer comment. Yeah, let's get Jeff in to tell us what to do, Lennon veered into long-delayed enthusiasm. I dig that ELO shit. Bugger me, the scales fell from Steve's mental eyes. I bet it was him who buzzed Band-Aid for help. Hey, we'll produce you, he arrogantly offered. We're here on the spot, now. You've produced before. Paul was too amused to be insulted. We do our own records. Abby insisted it wasn't all day's work. Jeff knows us better, a grinning Harrison rejected the upstart presumption. I'll give him a call later. Yeah, quick till he gets here. Ringo knew they'd had enough for one day. Leave it and it'll come. Paul positively cryptically stood his Hofner bass in a corner stand, only for John to place his guitar symbolically adjacent. Actually, we'd better be going. Steve looked at Abby for confirmation, the enormity of what they'd done finally hitting home. Okay, for sure, she concurred. Absolutely. Quit while you're ahead. Go tell your friend Lord Dave. Tell Geldof. We were just guys trying to make records. Lennon clung to the past tense. Yeah, maybe we can't work it out. George was sharp. Steve looked at Abby, and Abby looked at Steve. If they'd never know for certain which Beatle made the distress call, it was nevertheless clear all things must pass if our minds be so, that in the end the love you take is equal to the love you make.